All we have left are air attacks. And our air attacks are using Tomahawks and JASSMs missiles primarily. The problem with that, we're running out of them. Our inventories are being depleted. But we need to rebuild them. But to rebuild them, we need rare earth minerals that are controlled by China.
There's no winning this war for the United States. In my assessment, and I'll get your opinion, my assessment, there is absolutely no way to win this war. And here's why. Our friend Syed Marandi is going to tell you why, because if Trump decides to start bombing again, this is what's going to happen.
Iran will not hit back harder. Iran will hit back much harder. The head of the Iranian forces says Iran will target and destroy all of the Israeli regime's infrastructure. This was the tip of the iceberg. Iran will lose no war. The Israeli regime will. It is time for you and others to end your racism and to end your support for the superior race and to accept that all people in Palestine have equal rights and the Palestinian people have a right of return. Jews, Christians, and Muslims are equal. Unlike what you say, they are equal, and we will accept nothing less than that. The regime must go, and all people must be treated equally. Right. And if the only thing, there's no doubt that Israel will lose, but the only variable here is the United States. If the United States gets involved, have no doubt, the U.S. will be swept out of Iraq by the Iraqi resistance, and all its assets in the Persian Gulf will be destroyed. All those regimes that U.S. bases will be destroyed, and the oil and gas markets will cause a situation where the global economy will collapse and millions of people will be on the move. So be careful about making stupid mistakes, and the West should stop with its arrogance and get real for once.
So the United States the United States was stupid enough to make those mistakes, and they did follow through on everything he said. They did wipe out 13 of our bases in the Middle East, showing that those bases were pointless because they were supposed to be there to protect the petrodollar countries, and it's obvious we can't. Not only can't we do that, but we can't even protect Israel, even though we put all our resources into protecting Israel. So if Donald Trump does start bombing again, they will hit back, as Scott Ritter said. They will go for the jugular, meaning they will take out the desalination plants in all of those countries in the Gulf, or the energy supply that supplies those plants, and then it's game over. And so what he's saying there, also a big part, is that this is tied in with the Palestinians. So all the gains that Israel has made right now by trying to ethnically cleanse Palestine of the Palestinians, Gaza and the West Bank, it doesn't seem like Iran is going to stop at just wanting a ceasefire, but it seems like they're going to want equal rights, like he said, in Palestine for Christians, Muslims, and Jews. So two questions, I guess. So the United States has definitely lost this war, and there's no way to win it. There's no way to win this war. And B, so has Israel lost this war, and the Palestinians have actually won this war. So those are my two questions. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so let's first deal with the military side of the house. The United States does not have a viable military option and winning this war would mean that you'd get a change of the government in Iran, and that you would have Iran willing to align itself with the West. That's not going to happen. Why? Number one, we have no ground force capability to actually try to attack Iran, which has an army of between the Revolutionary Guard Corps, the Baji, which is basically a militia, National Guard, and then the regular army. They've got over 1 million guys. And so normally an attacking force with those kinds of numbers, you need 3 to 4 million people. We don't have that. It would take us 1 to 2 years to try to build that size of force up. So that's point number one. Point number two, let's say we had that number. Where are you going to assemble them? Because we saw during the Gulf, the first attack or the second attack on Iraq back in 2003, We assembled 165,000 soldiers in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. Saddam didn't have any effective Scud missiles. What the Iranians have now, though, are drones, short-range ballistic missiles, intermediate-range ballistic missiles, and cruise missiles. They would devastate any troop assembly of any size. So that creates a real security issue. And as you correctly noted, in this, their immediate response to the attack on February 28th was to take out 13 U.S. military bases. You know, the U.S. has turned out to be like a bad mafia, Don. You know, the mob goes out to the pizza shop, the pizza owner, and says, hey, you need to buy some insurance, otherwise your shop's going to burn down. Okay, and so all the Gulf Arabs, the Saudis and the Qataris, Kuwaitis, okay, man, we're paying off the United States. We'll buy your T-bills. We'll buy your weapons. And then what happens? Comes the moment when they're supposed to be protected, they get smoked, and they're going, hey, my pizza shop got burned down, and the United States says, you know, what are we going to do? So, you know, right there, the United States exposed that it can't protect them. So that leaves the United States with maritime power. What can that do? The ships, we're keeping our ships 200 miles offshore of Iran, because if they get closer than that, they're going to get hit with cruise missiles, drones, underwater, many submarines attacking them with torpedoes. So the maritime option's not there. All we have left are air attacks. And our air attacks are using Tomahawks and JASSM missiles primarily. The problem with that, we're running out of them. Our inventories are being depleted. So, but we need to rebuild them. But to rebuild them, we need rare earth minerals that are controlled by China. So here's Donald Trump's pitch to the Chinese. Yeah, Xi, listen, we really need these rare earth minerals. And she goes, well, why? Well, we need to rebuild our Tomahawks and our JASSM missiles. Okay, why do you need to do that? Well, we got to have something to be able to attack you in 2 years. I mean, come on. That went over. That went over like a lead balloon.
We're out of missiles, basically. Yep. And Iran isn't. By the way, Iran has way more. I've heard some people say they have 100% more missiles than Donald Trump thinks they have. Some people say 120% more. So they have the missiles to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed or do whatever they want for as long as they want. And we don't have the rare earth minerals. And right now, if China wanted to take over Taiwan, they could eat. There's nothing we could do about it. Not that we should. It's their goddamn country. We have a one China policy to begin with. Anyway, so there is absolutely. I guess just one more time, I want to try to make this point. There is absolutely no way militarily, we don't have the missiles, we don't have the materials to make the missiles. It would take a year or two even to get those missiles built, even if we had the materials. There is no way for Donald Trump and the United States to actually win this war against Iran.
Yeah. Look, we could go through enormous expenditure of money, and like I said, recruit a 3 million man army, and then try to figure out how to deploy them, how to get them on scene, and then figure out how we're going to get the rare earth minerals that we need to build these modern weapon systems. I mean, right now the F-35, again, it's supposed to have a radar in the nose cone of these brand new F-35s. They're putting weights, the plate weights from Gold's Gym in the nose cone, because the rare earth mineral magnets that we need are in China, and China's not giving them up. So there really is no viable, practical military solution to this. The only real solution is a diplomatic solution, which we refuse to take, because we want to destroy Iran, and Iran's got this crazy idea that they'd like to survive. So they're going to protect themselves, and the failure, they learned lessons from our 2003 invasion of Iraq. And out of that, that's when they started building these underground cities. And they built them to specifications to resist nuclear blast. It's important that your listeners understand that. The Iranians are not a bunch of goofballs that just, burrowed underground and didn't plan for that. They've planned for being attacked with nuclear weapons. And those facilities underground, they are producing new missiles, and then they can fire them from underground without having to expose themselves. So, we've decided to get into a fight with a Wolverine, and we're not equipped to handle it.
And so when you make the point that it would take a couple of million U.S. ground troops to actually do what Israel and Trump wants to do to Iran, you make the case that there's no place to stage them. And
correct.
The proof of that is that when the United States started bombing Iran, the first thing they did before they did that was they took most of our military personnel out of the bases in the Middle East, out of the Gulf states, and put them in civilian hotels, which is kind of a war crime. So they knew that they couldn't defend any amount of United States soldiers present in those Gulf states, so they had to get them out of those military bases. And so if we did put them back there, Iran could just kill them immediately. So there's no way to even do this, even if we had a 3 million ground troop army, right?
Right. I mean, because right now the U.S. Army is 452,000. I think the Marine Corps is 110,000. Then you got reservists, which would bring the total force up. If you pull in all the reservists, again, they'd have to do some retraining. That gets you up to 1.5 million. So let's say we still got to recruit another 1.5 million. When you figure basic training lasts 13 weeks, then what they call advanced individual training will occupy another 3 to 6 months. So basically, you'd be looking at a year to try to build this up. Well, if you're trying to build that up, do you think Iran's going to be sitting back doing nothing? Saying, "Oh yeah, let's we'll go on vacation to Cuba or something." No, that's not going to happen. So this is a policy. What we're failing to understand, and I've got this on very reliable source, that Russia and China are in a coordinated strategy right now that they're going to expel the United States from the Persian Gulf with the cooperation of the Saudis, Qataris, Kuwaitis, and Bahrainis. When Foreign Minister Araghchi of Iran was in Moscow, now it's almost 3 weeks ago, when Vladimir Putin came out and talked about we need to develop a new security architecture in the Gulf. He said that exact phrase, security architecture. A week later, Araghchi, the foreign minister, is in Beijing meeting with Wang Yi, the foreign minister of the Chinese. Wang Yi comes out and says exactly the same thing. And we saw evidence that this is working because remember when Trump announced Project Freedom, we're going to use our Air Force and we're going to blow the hell out of the Iranians. We're going to open the Strait of Hormuz. And 36 hours later, he goes, never mind. Yes. It was like, and what happened? The Saudis said, no, you're not using our airspace. That's closed. No more. You're not using it to attack Iran. And so that's what shut us down. And that was done because of Chinese, Pakistani coordination with the Saudis. The Saudis, and basically, the United States had its chance. It promised protection. It promised prosperity. Hey, you pay us our VIG every month, you'll be okay. They're not okay. They realize that now that the United States put them in jeopardy. They're losing money. They suffered significant physical loss. And now the Chinese and Russians are coming and saying, you know what? We got a better plan for you. And they're going to go with it. So,
Larry, I've been saying this for a while. I'm a C student, nightclub comedian. And I've been saying, what could possibly be in it for these Gulf states to stay on the side of the United States after day one, they got wiped out by Iran, and the United States proved they wouldn't protect them. And so there's no point in staying. And so why wouldn't they join together with China and Russia to try to end this war so they could start making money again? And you're saying that that's exactly what's happening right now.
Yeah. Hey, you've already qualified yourself to be the national security advisor. I keep telling you, Jimmy, your problem is you got too much common sense, okay? Too much common sense and logic. And you can also, like a good comedian, you see the absurdity in all of this. That it's just, we've got people that are indulging in fantasies and delusions and then trying to sell those to the American people. But this is what we're right now. The United States' grasp on being the world leader hinges upon two things. One, that the petrodollar is supreme. And it is the reserve currency. Everybody's got to use it. And two, we can convince the rest of the world to buy our debt. Well, how are those things working out right now? The number of countries that are starting to make purchases with Chinese yuan instead of the U.S. dollar, that's increasing. U.S. dollar is going down. And Treasury bills, good luck. You'll have more luck selling a colonoscopy exam.
And how long do you think Trump could go without agreeing to those?
Probably until midterms when he gets crushed. Because by then, listen, we are headed into an economic tsunami.
And no kidding.
And it is, people keep pretending that it's not going to hit us, or it's going to be mitigated. Because right now, I don't know what happened to gas prices up in your area.
$7.
So it went up here, and then over the last 3 days, it's come down a couple of cents. Why? Because the government's raided the strategic oil reserve. They're flooding the market that way to try to mitigate. If they step back and just let the market work, you're right. It would be, I think before this is over, we're going to be looking at $9, $10 gallon gasoline, and that's going to be a shock.
And also, food prices are right now. I'm reading reports. 70% of farmers say they can't be able to grow the food that they were growing before because they can't afford the fertilizer because there isn't any.
And the diesel fuel. Don't forget the diesel. It's doubled in price.
Yeah.